Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, March 12, 2020. Join us for the next 45 minutes as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and live via streaming worldwide through UNTV News and Rescue Facebook account and untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
And here are the headlines.
The World Health Organization declares the novel coronavirus outbreak a global pandemic. The Department of Health announces 3 additional cases of COVID-19 in the country, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 52. Several lawmakers and government officials undergo self-quarantine after exposure to patients who contracted coronavirus disease. President Rodrigo Duterte gets tested for COVID-19. The Department of Trade and Industry orders retailers to sell 2 bottles of alcohol disinfectants per person. And several government offices suspend work today to disinfect premises.
It's official. The COVID-19 causing coronavirus outbreak is no longer just an outbreak. It is officially a pandemic.
World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus declared the outbreak to be the first pandemic caused by coronavirus. Here's Kath Dumaraos to tell us why.
The coronavirus outbreak has been labeled a pandemic by the World Health Organization. It is a term that the organization had refrained from using before now.
We're deeply concerned both by the alarming levels of spread and severity and by the alarming levels of inaction.
A pandemic is reserved for an infectious disease where we see significant and ongoing person-to-person spread in multiple countries. The last time a pandemic occurred was in 2009 with swine flu, which experts think killed hundreds of thousands of people. Pandemics are more likely if a virus is brand new, able to infect people easily, and can spread from person to person in an efficient and sustained way. Coronavirus appears to tick all of those boxes. With no vaccine or treatment that can prevent it yet, containing its spread is vital. At the end of February, Dr. Tedros said while coronavirus absolutely had pandemic potential, it was not there yet because we are not witnessing uncontained global spread. What has changed is the number of countries dealing with cases. There have now been 118,000 in 114 countries.
Describing the situation as a pandemic does not change WHO's assessment of the threat posed by the virus. It doesn't change what WHO is doing, and it doesn't change what countries should do. We have never before seen a pandemic sparked by a coronavirus. This is the first pandemic caused by a coronavirus. And we have never before seen a pandemic that can be controlled at the same time.
The WHO hopes countries around the world will change how they tackle the global pandemic.
I remind all countries that we're calling on you to activate and scale up your emergency response mechanisms. Communicate with your people about the risks and how they can protect themselves. This is everybody's business.
Kath Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
President Rodrigo Duterte undergoes testing for the coronavirus disease even if he has not shown any signs of the deadly illness. Meanwhile, Malacañang undergoes disinfection today. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
Philippine health officials have recommended to the president to undergo COVID-19 testing. This was after the chief executive's regular meeting with some cabinet officials who have decided to undergo self-imposed quarantine after their interactions with a recently confirmed COVID-19 patient. The said personality, who has tested positive for coronavirus, was reportedly present during the inspection of the C3R10 NLEX Harbor Link project on March 5. President Duterte, who was accompanied by Senator Bongo, led the event. Most of the cabinet officials are members of the administration's economic team, including Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea, Finance Secretary Sonny Dominguez, Budget Secretary Wendell Avisado, Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugade, Public Works and Highway Secretary Mark Villar, Bangko Sentral Governor Benjamin Jokno, and Presidential Advisor for Flagship Programs and Projects and Bases Conversion and Development President Vince Dizon. Education Secretary Leonor Briones and Socio-Economic Planning Secretary Ernesto Pernia have also decided to undergo self-quarantine. Meanwhile, in Malacañang, the Presidential Security Group as well as the Presidential Communications Operations Office announced a disinfection of the palace premises. Employees will still go to work since the disinfection process in their areas is environment-friendly. Presidential Communications Secretary Martin Andanar appeals to media personnel and to his staff who had interacted with cabinet officials who have gone on self-quarantine to also go on voluntary self-isolation and seek medical attention. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue.
The result of President Duterte's coronavirus test will be released on Saturday, according to Senator Bongo. Some senators underwent a self-imposed quarantine while the Senate premises underwent disinfection today. Several government agencies suspended work. Arlene Delgado clarifies why.
Senators Win Gatchalian and Nancy Binay were the first to announce last night that they would undergo self-imposed quarantine. This was after one of the resource persons in a hearing of the Senate Committee on Basic Education, Arts and Culture last March 5 tested positive for COVID-19. According to Gatchalian, they were informed about the patient's case only yesterday. The senator assures he has no symptoms of the disease and is feeling healthy. He has also directed his staff to do the same, especially those who had direct contact with the said COVID-19 positive person. Meanwhile, Senator Nancy Binay has called on to those who came in contact with her in the past week to take the same precautions. Other senators have also taken self-quarantine, including Senators Panfilo Lacson, Amy Marcos, Francis Tolentino, Miguel Zubiri, Ramon Revilla, Lito Lapid, Kiko Pangilinan, Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon, and Senate President Pro Tempore Ralph Recto. Senator Sonny Angara will start his self-quarantine tomorrow. Senate President Vicente Soto III and Senator Risa Hontiveros will observe social distancing instead. Soto has earlier announced Senate would be under restricted access for disinfection but not on lockdown. Other government agencies have temporarily suspended work to disinfect their premises and ensure the safety of their employees. These include the Departments of Finance, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, National Economic and Development Authority, Office of the Ombudsman, and Office of the Solicitor General. The Asian Development Bank headquarters in Pasig City has also directed its staff to work from home upon learning that a recent visitor of the bank tested positive for COVID-19. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Caloocan City.
Meanwhile, should a lockdown be declared within Metro Manila, the National Capital Region Police says it's going to be a huge challenge for them. In this scenario, entry and exit roads to and from Metro Manila will be barricaded. Leia Ilagan details why.
The NCRPO will strictly implement the lockdown should President Rodrigo Duterte impose the measure in the National Capital Region amid the public health emergency due to COVID-19. NCRPO Director Police Major General Debol Sina says that in case of a lockdown, no person will be allowed to cross the barricade or police line to be set in place.
Pag mag-lockdown ka kasi, talagang no entry, no exit, diba? Including movement ng food and services. That is the total lockdown na ginawa ng Italy.
Sinas adds they will declare a full alert status and will deploy the Regional Mobile Force Battalion to guard the entry and exit roads.
Kompleto yan. May baril yan, may equip yan, at saka mayroon na yung mask, goggles, di ba? At saka may naka-gloves na yan. Protective na yan sila dyan, di ba? At stay put na.
Other police officers will remain in their stations to implement law and order. The NCRPO Top Cop admits the lockdown is a big challenge to the police when it comes to maintaining order because the number of petty crimes might increase.
Yung hoarding, di ba? The number one yan. Hoarding, yung panic buying is number one. Second is, after the panic buying is yung maghanapan ng mga kamag-anak. Pangalawa is yung availability of medicines and hospitals. Kasi siyempre, we have to guard also yung mga priority, yung mga hospitals natin, mga pharmacies natin. Kasi yun yung unang guguluhin nila, yung mga malaking establishments, di ba? We go beyond sa government buildings already. Gagwardyahan na namin yan. You're looting the worst. Kaya nga, if you have panic buying, then you have looting. Then we expect na crime against person at saka property will increase.
Sinas explains it is better in Metro Manila would be placed under quarantine instead. In this scenario, the entry of agricultural products coming from provinces might be allowed. Workers within the NCR will also be permitted to go their hometowns in nearby provinces. The guidelines for the possible lockdown will be discussed by Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Disease. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
And now let's take a look at how countries around the world are tackling the global pandemic in this report.
Living with a coronavirus outbreak requires patience. Italians began getting used to life under lockdown on Wednesday. Queues outside supermarkets across the country are now a common sight, as there are restrictions on numbers of people who can enter. Most people now patiently wait 1 meter away from the next person, the decreed amount of distance in order to combat coronavirus contagion. Meantime, Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte warned that already tough restrictions on movement might be tightened further. Most Italians appear to be respecting the most severe controls placed on a Western nation since World War II, with traffic much quieter than usual in major cities, many shops and restaurants closed, and only a few flights operating. German Chancellor Angela Merkel said up to 70% of the population is likely to be infected with the coronavirus. In Spain, schools shut down and several flights from Italy were suspended. In Asia, Seoul Metro disinfected subway trains as South Korea reported a jump in new coronavirus cases. Meantime, in Wuhan, China, where the coronavirus outbreak began, supermarkets and other businesses began to reopen for the first time since the outbreak began. The city of 11 million has been in lockdown since late January, but officials claim their efforts to contain the virus have been successful. Walt Disney's Shanghai Disney Resort also began a phased reopening. All guests are required to have their temperature taken on arrival and to wear a mask for the duration of their visit. With resisting handshakes becoming the norm, Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan shunned handshakes with dignitaries this week, putting his hand over his heart and saying Corona. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Now let's get the latest tally of the coronavirus cases around the world. The viral outbreak that began in China has now infected 126,259 people globally in 116 countries. The global death toll of the virus stands at 4,638. Mainland China still has the overwhelming majority of cases of the infection, which has reported 80,932 cases and 3,172 deaths. COVID-19 cases in Italy continue to rise with 12,462 confirmed cases and 827 fatalities, making it the most infected country next to China. Cases in Iran, meanwhile, jumped to 9,000 with 354 deaths. while South Korea has 7,869 confirmed cases with 66 fatalities. In the Philippines, from the 49 confirmed cases yesterday, 3 new cases were reported today, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 52. Patients under investigation or PUIs for possible COVID-19 are now at 791. The number of admitted PUIs at medical facilities remain at 68, and the number of discharged PUIs is now 674. Welcome back. The National Food Authority assures Metro Manila residents there is enough supply of rice amid the COVID-19 outbreak, and there is no need to panic buy rice, the NFA says. Jun Soriao explains why.
At this rice storage in Barangay Bagong Barrio, Caloocan City, we saw a queue of customers yesterday who wanted to buy rice at a lower price. They said rice is much cheaper here compared with that in public markets. The buyers explained there are talks that Metro Manila has already been placed on lockdown, so they came here to buy rice that could last 4 weeks.
Baka kasi magkaubusan ng bigas, mag-lockdown, wala na mabili.
Panic buying. Baka magkaroon ng lockdown. Para sigurado.
Il Garcia even bought rice, saying that he has been watching news about other countries with cities already on lockdown.
Mag-stock.
Bakit po nag-stock?
Baka yung virus na parating.
But based on a statement made by National Food Authority or NFA Administrator Judy Carol Lansal yesterday, the agency assures there is an adequate supply of NFA rice in Metro Manila in case of a lockdown amid an emergency situation due to COVID-19. The official says the NFA has a stock of 455,000 bags of rice in Metro Manila, good for 40 days. The agency is also fast-tracking the delivery of more than 11,000 metric tons of rice for Metro Manila coming from neighboring rice-producing regions. NFA Administrator Dansal adds this move is part of the government's preparations for the COVID-19 outbreak. Jun Suriao, UNTV, News and Rescue, Caloocan City.
Amid panic buying over the novel coronavirus pandemic, the government is limiting the purchase of alcohol and other disinfectants to 2 bottles per consumer. The Department of Trade and Industry has issued this order to retailers as early as Monday. Undersecretary Ruth Castello said a written order will soon be released. Castello said the move will stop people from hoarding and reselling the items at a much higher price. She added that DTI will also monitor the retailers to ensure compliance. The DTI has also ordered a 60-day price freeze on all basic necessities in response to the declaration of a state of public health emergency in the country. Hand washing, also known as hand hygiene, can help prevent illness. Experts say hand washing is an easy way to prevent infection. But how effective is it in doing its purpose? Ray Palayo reports.
A social media post by Kristen Bell, an American singer and actress, shows a comparison of hands that underwent different stages of washing. She used black light or ultraviolet light to see the presence of microbes on the hands. The first image shows a hand with luminous parts which signify how much microbes are present on the hand. After placing the hand under running tap water and shaking, a small amount of the luminous spots were removed. After 6 seconds of washing the same hands without soap, more bright spots were washed away. Using soap for another 6 seconds of washing removed more of the luminous portions, and even more when washing the hands for 15 seconds. Washing hands with soap and water for 30 seconds removed a larger portion of the luminous portion, which means most of the microbes were removed. The Department of Health and even the World Health Organization recommend hand washing as one of the effective measures to prevent getting infected with the coronavirus. If hand washing with soap and water is not doable at a particular time, using rubbing alcohol is an option, but use brands with 70% alcohol content. Hand sanitizer may also be used, but it should contain at least 60% alcohol. But the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of America says that hand sanitizers will not be effective if your hands are oily and visibly dirty. Former Health Undersecretary Ted Herbosa explains that an effective way to avoid coronavirus infection is social distancing or simply keeping away from other people and the crowd.
Ako ngayon sinasabi ko number one, social distancing kasi nga nasa face na tayo na nandito na eh. Diba? So nandito na, huwag kang pumunta sa madaming crowd kasi baka mahawak.
Many institutions, both private and government, are implementing a screening process on everybody entering their buildings. Among the equipment or gadget they use is the infrared or digital thermometer to identify persons with fever or high body temperature. A screener or facilitator must wear protective gear such as gloves and masks to avoid contracting any disease. If the thermometer shows a temperature about 37.5 degrees Celsius, proper action must be taken right away. If the temperature is really high, the use of another type of thermometer may be used to establish the accuracy of the first temperature check.
Pagka may lagnat at mayroong history ng exposure ay agad na i-isolate yung tao, ihiwalay sa nakakarami, and ipagbigay alam sa DOH hotline para agad na matugunan yung tao.
Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Boracay Island residents looked forward to seeing the president personally. However, the chief executive did not pursue his trip scheduled for today. Asher Kadapan reports why.
Presidential spokesperson and chief presidential legal counsel Salvador Panelo confirms the postponement of President Rodrigo Duterte's plan to visit Boracay Island in the province of Aklan today. Panelo explains this development is due to the situation concerning the coronavirus disease in the country. President Duterte aims to promote domestic tourism to help boost the country's economy affected by COVID-19. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat, who had earlier planned to come with the president, also canceled her trip to Boracay. In a statement, the DOT explains the agency's utmost priority is the safety and well-being of tourists. Boracay residents are still hopeful to personally meet the president as this will boost local tourism.
Mahigit kalahati ang nabawas sa kinikita mo?
Sobra. Mga 1/4 na lang natira.
Na 1/4 ang
natitirang income. Dati, 2,500, meron. 2,000 ngayon, 500 na lang pinakataas.
Wala na kaming guest, sir. Unlike nung wala bang corona na siya talaga marami, at saka ngayon di ba wala ng Chinese, saka wala na din Korean. Humina talaga, sir. Apektado talaga kami dito.
Despite the threat of COVID-19, the DOT continues to encourage tourists to visit local destinations to boost the country's economy.
I think now is the best time with all the precautionary measures in place, with safety as a primary reason. Then if you are using your wisdom as a traveler, if you have that, then go on and discover a destination. Boracay is one.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Boracay Island.
President Donald Trump ordered the suspension of European travel to the United States to help curb the spread of coronavirus pandemic. Beverly Saison details why.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced sweeping new travel restrictions on Europe in a bid to combat the spread of the coronavirus. Trump said all travel from European countries would be suspended for the next 30 days. But he said the strong but necessary restrictions would not apply to the UK, where 460 cases of the virus have now been confirmed. There are 1,135 confirmed cases of the virus across the U.S., with 38 deaths.
We will be suspending all travel from Europe to the United States for the next 30 days. The new rules will go into effect Friday at midnight.
Trump said the European Union had failed to take the same precautions as the U.S. A presidential proclamation published shortly after Trump's address specified that the ban applies to anyone who has been in the EU's Schengen border-free area within 14 days prior to their arrival in the U.S. He also announced plans to provide billions of dollars in loans to small businesses and urged Congress to pass major tax relief measures in an attempt to stymie the effect of the coronavirus outbreak on the U.S. economy.
And we are marshaling the full power of the federal government and the private sector to protect the American people.
Officials had said the risk of infection was low for the general U.S. public, but concern deepened after a number of new cases were confirmed earlier this month. The largest public school district in Washington state announced a 2-week closure. The unprecedented shutdown coincided with Washington State Governor Jay Inslee banning public gatherings of more than 250 people in the Seattle region. The greater Seattle area is the epicenter of the deadliest clusters of coronavirus infections in the United States, accounting for the bulk of at least 37 people killed in the country. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser declared a state of emergency as the number of identified coronavirus cases in the nation's capital reached 10, and officials recommended gatherings of 1,000 or more people be postponed or canceled. The National Cherry Blossom Festival announced they will postpone or cancel some events. The city's St. Patrick's Day Parade has also been postponed indefinitely. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
Y News continues. Hollywood star Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson have announced that they have tested positive for COVID-19, the first celebrities to go public with a diagnosis. Mirasol Abogodil reports.
Oscar-winning actor Tom Hanks and his wife, actress Rita Wilson, have both tested positive for coronavirus in Australia. The actor said on Twitter that he and Wilson, who are both 63, were tested in Australia, where he is working on a film, after they felt tired and achy with slight fevers. He said that he and Wilson would be tested, observed, and isolated for as long as required. The New York Times reported that Hanks was in Australia to film a movie about the life of Elvis Presley, in which he plays as the Rockers' manager, Colonel Tom Parker. It was not immediately clear if filming would be postponed. Hanks is by far the most prominent entertainment figure to say that he has the virus, and by going public with the information, instantly becomes the face of an outbreak that has cascaded around the globe. Meanwhile, CBS employees at its headquarters in New York City were sent home Wednesday afternoon after 2 employees reportedly tested positive for coronavirus. The company asked employees to work remotely for the rest of the week while the 2 affected Manhattan buildings are disinfected. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV, News and Rescue.
And for the news abroad. The Greek government dismissed a report in the New York Times newspaper that it was holding illegal migrants who crossed the border from Turkey at a secret black site where they are stripped, beaten, and denied access to lawyers and cannot file asylum claims. Kath Dumaraos details why.
Tens of thousands of refugees have been trying to cross into Greece since Turkish leader Tayyip Erdogan last month encouraged them to flee his country towards the EU. The controversial move has sparked chaos on the Greek border with violent clashes between police and desperate migrants, including allegations of people being shot and killed by cops. And now the New York Times quoted migrants who said they had been captured by Greek security forces, stripped and beaten, and held in a complex of buildings near the border. Satellite imagery backed by an investigation by the New York Times has proved the existence of at least one secret prison. The so-called black site, legal under international law, is where Greek authorities are holding migrants without any judicial process, the report says.
There is no secret detention center in Greece. All issues related to guarding the borders or issues of security are transparent. The Constitution is being applied, and there is nothing secret.
On March 3rd, Greece passed a decree suspending asylum applications for a month and allowing for the immediate deportation of any migrants seized crossing the border. Residents in the village of Poros said the past few days have been very tough, even for someone who has lived his entire life along the river that divides Greece and Turkey.
The situation wasn't that pressing in the past. Things were under control. We would see a couple of people, maybe 5 people. But in recent days, you could see that they were being brought here in buses. in army vehicles. That was the most alarming thing. That is what made people scared. What could it mean? What more would the Turkish government want to do?
Things have now calmed down, he says, and residents were looking forward to the reinforcements. Asked about the facilities near his village that came under the spotlight, he says that it is a known military area. Kat Dumaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
Disgraced film producer Harvey Weinstein has been sentenced to 23 years in prison for rape and sexual assault. He was found guilty in a trial in New York last month, a dramatic fall from grace for one of Hollywood's most powerful figures. The 67-year-old appeared in court on Wednesday in a wheelchair. His lawyers had appealed for leniency, saying even the minimum sentence of 5 years could be a life sentence. But prosecutors argued Weinstein should be given the maximum possible sentence given his lifetime of abuse towards women and lack of remorse for his actions. Weinstein addressed the court for the first time on Wednesday, saying he had deep remorse, but described him and other men as totally confused by events in comments seen as critical to the hashtag #MeToo movement. One person has been killed and more than 40 injured in a collision between two trains on Mexico City's underground system. Meanwhile, police in Chile are searching for members of an armed gang who stole cash shipment worth about $15 million from a warehouse at Santiago Airport. Jovic Bermas reports.
In Chile, an armed gang of 10 stole about $14 million in cash on Monday during a brazen robbery in Chile's international airport. According to police, some 10 people were involved in the heist. Authorities said they drove a van from the DHL delivery service into a cargo area of the airport and targeted a van belonging to the Brink security firm. In addition to the $14 million, they also stole 1 million euros, police said. Police continue to investigate, but they suspect the robbers had inside information. Meanwhile, the beating of an elderly protester by a police officer at a protest in Chile on Sunday has shocked the nation, with citizens calling for justice. On Sunday, bodycam footage from an officer captured video footage of police beating Patricia Bao, 69, who required 14 stitches in his eyelid and head after an assault during the International Women's Day March in central Santiago. Footage that went viral on social media shows two heavily armed riot policemen beating him with batons, throttling and dragging him. Several women are heard screaming and begging the police to stop. Police said Bao had attacked an officer prior to the beating and been detained. Chilean investigative police and prosecutors said they were investigating the case. In Mexico, at least one person was killed and 41 injured when two trains collided on Mexico City's metro network late on Tuesday. The force of the crash caused one train to mount the other at Tacubaya Metro, one of the capital's busiest train stations. Jovic Bermas, UNTV News and Rescue.
President Rodrigo Duterte will address the public tonight amid the rising cases of coronavirus disease or COVID-19 in the country. Rosalie Cos is on the line for the details. Rosalie? Yes, Rosalie, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Diego. President Duterte is set to address the nation tonight as the country faces the threat of COVID-19. Earlier today, the media was advised by the palace about the public address of the president. But before this, President Duterte, together with Senator Bongo, underwent COVID testing through the RITM in Bahay ng Pagbabago at Malacañang. The initial advice on the time of the president's public address was at 6:30 p.m. But he held a meeting first with the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, the Military and Health Corps in Malacañang at past 6 this evening until around 8:30 in the evening. Noticeably, based on the pictures sent to us, the president was earlier sitting at least a meter away from Senator Bongo and Health Secretary Francisco Duque III. Right now, we are waiting for the public address to start. We are currently monitoring through the live feed provided by the Radio Television Malacañang as well as the Presidential Communications Operations Office. As we can see, the President is with his cabinet members, Health Secretary Francisco Duque, Interior Secretary Eduardo Año, Trade Secretary Mon Lopez, Tourism Secretary Berna Puyat, Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana, Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello, and we can also see Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles and Presidential Spokesperson Salvador Panelo. Right now, we are waiting for the audio coming, but as we can see, the public address of the President on the COVID-19 has not yet started. Diego?
Yes, thank you, Rosalie Cos, reporting live from Malacañang.
The National Basketball Association, or NBA, said it was suspending the season until further notice. Sunny Cos will tell us why.
The NBA has announced that all matches will be suspended from Thursday until further notice after a Utah Jazz player tested positive for coronavirus. The announcement was made just before the Jazz game against the Oklahoma Thunder was due to start on Wednesday. The NBA said the player who tested positive was not at the game. The Jazz versus Thunder game was postponed. Unconfirmed reports say the player concerned was Rudy Gobert. Prior to the NBA announcement, the Golden State Warriors were set to play their home game against the Brooklyn Nets on Thursday behind closed doors. That was prompted by a city of San Francisco ban on mass gatherings of over 1,000 people for at least the next 2 weeks in a bid to slow the spread of coronavirus. Golden State Warriors superstar point guard Stephen Curry is hoping that the Chase Center will still play music during the team's Thursday game against the Brooklyn Nets.
Been in this league for a very long time and never had to deal with anything like this, so it'll be different. It'll be weird. Obviously, understand the perspective and the decision in terms of trying to do our part to stop the spread and keep people safe first and foremost, and deal with the repercussions of what that means going forward.
The NBA playoffs were scheduled to tip off on April 18, with the finals set to begin on June 4. Sunny Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Los Angeles, USA.
A test kit that is eyed to be used in detecting positive coronavirus cases. If the test kit proves to be effective, it will be given certification of product registration, which means it is approved for mass production and usage. Ray Pelayo tells us why.
Field validation of the Filipino-made coronavirus disease or COVID-19 test kits will determine the effectiveness of the Filipino invention in detecting positive cases of coronavirus infection, according to its inventor, Dr. Raul Destura of the University of the Philippines National Institute of Health.
Cleansing the nation together with the civilian, military and police sectors, the organizations that would count in our enforcement of the laws to protect the people of the Republic of the Philippines. Pardon my broken Tagalog, pero sa mga kababayan ko, kayo, ako, do not panic. Huwag kayo masyadong may stress na parang hindi mo na magawa ang gusto mong gawin. Pwede pa rin, pero may restrictions tayo. May mga kondisyon dahil nga sa crisis. The crisis is very, very clear. COVID-19 is spreading all throughout the country, including the Philippines. Ang ano natin dito is there is no cure. Wala naman tayong mabili sa mga butika, pharmacy to buy the medicines to cure COVID-19. It's a virus. Ang panglaban lang natin dyan yung katawan natin na medyo in good health, na walang sakit. Yung medyo mahina, make yourself healthier by whatever means, maybe food, vitamins, but most of all, try to obey what government is suggesting or ordering you to do. Huwag kayong matakot, huwag kayong manervyos, pero wala pang sabi ko mga antidote nito. It would only come in a form of a vaccine. Kagaya ng kagating kayo ng aso, tapos there is the tawag nilang rabies or rabies, if you may, pang-away. Sarili rin niyang it's a form of their germs, mutate lang to fight, to warm our bodies, magbigay ng signal sa katawan natin na merong mga germs na pumapasok sa katawan mo, and the only way to fight it is to yung mga sundalo na tawag nila antibodies, yung pang-away mo sa mga madudumi, mga kagaw, germs, sila yung ma-alert at sila yung papatay ng virus. But until now, wala pa ho yan. So, nandyan na yan. It's a serious one. It is true. Huwag ninyong maliitin. Do not minimize it. I said, but do not kill yourself with worry, because government is doing everything possible to make it at least controllable. But kung kayo po ay mag-cooperate, pag hindi kayo na-cooperate, the problem would start, and it would start with you and end with you pagka ganon. So, yung mga sinasabi na social distancing, sundin lang po ninyo, at yung mga binibigay na well ahead ng Department of Health, sundin ho ninyo kung anong sinasabi ng mga doktor, kasi sila po ang marunong niyan. Ang military, ako, lahat na hindi doktor, walang alam, wala kaming maitulong sa inyo. It's only the medical people and medical experts who can help us. So listen to them. Dito sa atin, it's Secretary Doke, and Secretary Doke would articulate kung anong nalaman niya, anong bago na pumasok na impormasyon, and he would tell us what to do. So it's very important to give credence to what he says. Ang importante niyan, sumunod kayo, at meron ho kaming itong task force, interagency to, kasali na ang military pati police, kasi kailangan namin ang tulong nila kung sakali man lalala talaga to. Maybe this would create a public disturbance, disorder, but tingin ko hanggang dyan lang naman. Kasi, I know that you want to follow because you want to help everybody, including yourself and your family. Meron ho kaming resolution ngayon, but maybe I will convert this into an executive order para masunod talaga lahat. Ang sinabi dito, ang una, ang resolution is yung a province quarantine is advised when there are at least 2 positive COVID-19 cases belonging to different municipalities, component cities, or independent component cities in the same province. Ito ng national capital ng isang probinsya. Yun ang definition kung ano yan. Ito namang LGUs which have imposed community quarantine in their respective jurisdiction upon the declaration of the state of calamity shall be allowed to access their quick relief response. Ang ibig sabihin ho, yung ano ninyo sa probinsya ninyo which you have prepared can now be utilized to the fullest with the help of the national government. Itong isa, work in the executive department. Yung departamento ko, yung akin, kasi tatlo yan. Department, ang executive department, ako. Then, Congress is another department. Independent to yan. Hindi kailangan sumunod yan. May sarili sila kung gusto nila. And the other department actually is the judiciary. Magkaiba kami, pero tingin ko, ang mga trabahante sa lahat sa gobyerno na may alam kung anong mga bagay, public works, tourism, nandito sa departamento ko. Yung public health, nandito sa akin, so sila yung inutusan kong mag-aral at ito nga yung mga resulta namin. So work in the executive department shall be suspended during this period. Walang trabaho, suspended sila, huwag pumasok, without prejudice to the formation of skeletal workforces of government by government agencies in order to maintain the unimpeded delivery of services to the public. Ibig sabihin sa mga opisina nasyonal, walang trabaho pero may mga skeletal, yung mga few employees, volunteer or selected na sila ang muna tuman the fort, ika nga, sila yung papatakbo ng departamento, but with a reduced workforce. Ito namang flexible work arrangement shall likewise be encouraged in the private sector. The Department of Labor and Employment and the Department of Trade and Industry shall issue guidelines to safeguard the welfare of workers. All manufacturing, retail, and service establishments are advised to remain in operation during said period, provided that strict social distancing measures are required to be observed by the respective management. Ibig kong sabihin sa privado, labas sa gobyerno, ang trabaho tuloy-tuloy, pero ganun rin, reduce, ang skeletal pa, medyo lang, yung pinili lang, at yung walang mga sakit, magtatrabaho sila. But ang may-ari ng factory o anong klaseng negosyo mo, warehouse, see to it that they are taken care of by their mga management. Huwag ninyong hayaan ang mga trabahante ninyo. Mass public transports, including the light rail transits, the metro rail transit, and the Philippine National Railways shall continue in operation. Tuloy-tuloy ho ang trabaho ninyo, provided the Department of Transportation shall issue guidelines to ensure social distancing in said public transport. Ibig sabihin, tuloy-tuloy ang trabaho ninyo, pero ang social distancing, yung distansya mo to the other fellow, medyo malayo. Kasi pag nag-ubo siya o umatching, at least ang yung germs niya hanggang doon lang, hindi niya maipasa because there is the distance. Kaya it behooves upon the transportation department to come up with the guidelines based on what the health department orders. Lahat dito po, ang pinaka-importante, pinakatigas, ika nga, ang Department of Health. Kung ano man ang gagawin natin, kung anong iutos nila para sa atin, susundin talaga natin. Hindi ako, kung hindi si Dr. Doke ng DOH. Land, domestic air, and domestic sea travel to and from Metro Manila shall be suspended beginning 15/2020, March 15, 2020, and to end on April 14, 2020 sa alas 12, subject to the daily review by the Interagency Task Force. So, walang lumipad, ang mga travel is limited, pero itong mga railways sa baba, okay yan. At the same time, observe again social distancing. Pero sa aeroplano po, beginning March 15, 2020, March 13 tayo ngayon? 12. March 15, midnight, from, it takes its force and effect. So, tandaan ho ninyo yan. Pero subject again to review day to day. Tingnan namin kung ano ang nangyayari. Kung if there is a slowdown in the contagion or ganun yan medyo mawala lang ng kanya. That is the history of itong mga sakit na ito. They come and go in every 2 or 3 generations. Meron talagang problema na itong binigay sa atin at wala tayong magawa. Ito yung talagang trabaho nila. The Code Alert System of COVID-19 Public Health Event is hereby raised to Code Red Sublevel 2. The Department of Health has to explain to the public itong wherewithals ng Code Red Sublevel 2, I think, which is the highest sa prescribed ng WHO. Medyo nandito na tayo sa maximum. And it is really for the protection of humanity. The recommendations of the Department of Health Technical Advisory Group in imposing stringent social distancing measure in the National Capital Region are adopted for a period of 30 days from the issuance of this resolution, with salient points, yung mga importante, of which are as follows. Yung mga importante na nakalagay doon sa social distancing measures. The suspension of classes in all levels in Metro Manila is hereby extended until April 12, 2020. It's almost about a month. So walang klase, pwede kayong magbakasyon dyan lang sa bahay. Avoid, I'm sure may mga bagay-bagay dyan sa bahay na hindi pa ninyo nakita. If I were a student, estudyante ma rin ako noon, I would avoid yung mga bar, ano dyan, mga nightclub, maraming tao, where people congregate, tapos nandyan malapit kayo. Mag-ubo yung isa, mapasa niya. Pag nakuha mo, nag-ubo ka, pasa mo rin doon sa kabila. So try to avoid people, crowds. Yun, for your own protection. Huwag kang, may mga tao kasi na magsabi, wala yan. Kung patay ka, patay. Tama. Pero kung patay, patay ka rin talaga. Wala rin tayong magawa. So, kaawa naman ang nanay pati tatay ninyo. So, better just stay within the premises of the house. If I were you, alam ko na kung anong gawin ninyo. Bili kayo ng cellphone na marami. Wala naman kayong ginawa kung hindi magtulbok-tulbok rin dyan. I mean, everywhere that I look. Dito sa walang pakialam ang tao. Sige, nandoon na sa cellphone. So we are reduced to a one village. Di mas malapit. Instead of talking, you have your cellphone. And that is a benefit which was not given us during our time. Number one, the suspension of classes in all levels in Metro Manila is hereby extended until 2012-2020, provided that all students shall continue to fulfill their educational requirements during said period. Anong ibig sabihin? Kung wala kang magawa, sabi ng gobyerno, mag-aral ka. Pero ito, hindi ko inaasahan susunod din ninyo. Ang sigurado ako, yung kamay ninyo, nandyan sa cellphone yan, instead of studying. I'm sure of it. But for you guys who really want to improve your lot, you better make use of the time to study. Because, alam mo, mga anak, kayo mga bata, kayo yung mamatay na hindi makalabas ng bahay. Then you make all sorts of excuses. But there will be truant officers. Alam mo yung truant? Yes, it's an American practice. Pag makita ka sa labas, pasakay sa palaboy-laboy ka lang dyan, wala kang ginagawa, sisigaw-sigaw kayo, lalapitan kayo ng pulis pati military, tatanungin kayo, then you have a problem. Pag sinabi mo na wala, nandito lang kami sa labas, and then, maybe, if you are arrogant, nadadalhin ka sa station for record purposes. That you are disobeying, that you are intransigent, and that you are not fulfilling your duty. Alam mo, baski na there are a set of rules governing the responsibilities of a Filipino citizen. Baka hindi nyo alam yan. Meron yan. So, you have duties to perform also. Avoid trouble with the law, avoid trouble with anybody. Just in the meantime, wala tayong magawa. Mass gatherings defined as a planned or spontaneous event where the number of people attending could strain the planning and response resources of the community hosting the event shall be prohibited during said period. Yung magplano, whether nakaplano kayo na mag-meeting o may rally, either naplano na ninyo, spontaneous na, sige, mag-ano tayo, gawin ito natin, total, wala na rin tayong gawin, ganito na ang magsayawan na lang tayo. You know, I do not want anybody interfering in your enjoyment as a citizen of this republic. Ayaw ko na masita kayo ng police pati military. It could be messy. Kasi yung iba sa inyo suplado, and itong mga police pati military, they have their orders to enforce. So that if you are in this category of a grupo kayo tapos magmalapit, yung social distancing is no longer obeyed, and you are violating the rules, and if you insist, it is one of a just mere confrontation to something like disobedience, which is punishable under the revised penal code. Kung makipag-away ka, it becomes baka masuntok mo then it becomes an assault on an agent of a person in authority. In which case, from a simple violation of a rule, it will now ripen into a crime that is punishable by law. And you can go to prison. That's the problem. Ayaw ko. Ayaw ko na masita kayo ng military pati police. But ako sa inyo, if you are advised, just obey. Wala namang mawala sa inyo. Total, sa inyo yan eh. It's for your own good. Hindi naman ito para sa amin. Kung I hate it, but you have to do it because there is a crisis that is engulfing the country right now. Community quarantine is hereby imposed in the entire of Metro Manila. And in other areas, the LGUs are advised to abide by the following guidelines, imposing localized community quarantine in the respective jurisdiction. For Manila, ayaw namin gamitin yan, pero kasi takot kayo sabihin lockdown. But it's a lockdown. There is no struggle of power here. Walang away dito, walang gera. It's just a matter of protecting and defending you from COVID-19. That's about it. It has nothing to do with the power of the military or the power of the police, nor or my power and this guy is beside me. Hindi yan. It's not an issue of, it's just an issue of protecting public interest and public health. Yun lang. A barangay-wide quarantine is advised when at least 2 positive COVID-19 cases belonging to different households in the same barangay. Kung sa isang barangay may 2 na infected, medyo i-quarantine na ninyo yung barangay ninyo. Itong problema sa 2, sabihin na it behoves on the barangay captain actually. The barangay captain is under the administrative code is a person in authority. That's why kung makipagsuntukan ka ng barangay captain because he is enforcing the law o awayin mo, pareho ang kasalanan mo kung lumaban ka sa police or sa person in authority. Mabigat ang barangay captain and teachers also. Teachers, because of the nature of their work, are persons in authority because they are made so by the law itself to give them the stature in relation to the work of trying to mold and teach the Filipino students. Kaya ang teacher rin, kung utosan ka, sunod ka, pareho sa barangay captain. Now, if the barangay captain would ask the teachers to help in the enforcement, you better obey because they are in the exercise of teaching the persons there of the barangay of the dangers is part of their work. Then you have the municipality, citywide quarantine is advised when at least 2 positive COVID-19 cases belonging to different barangays in the same municipality. Kung sa munisipyo kayo tapos isang barangay dyan, may dalawa na tinamaan ng COVID-19, diagnosed to have COVID-19 infection, magka-quarantine na rin kayo. And, you know, before I forget, I do not have enough soldiers and policemen to cover all over every inch of the country. Kulang ako. Meron ako na magamit ko ang barangay captain. Ang barangay captain is bound by what is written here, whether by way of rules implementing in the meantime or if it becomes a part of an executive order. You better implement this because if not, then you will also go to prison for dereliction of duty or simply not enforcing a rule imposed by government. Ang pinaka dito yung mga barangay captains. It falls upon your shoulders to exactly do what this regulation wants to happen. Huwag kayong magkamali dito kasi pag hinabol kayo ng Department of Interior and Local Government, you can be dismissed or you can be suspended and you'll have trouble. And besides, I think the electorate will remember you for being a laggard.
Third page pa, nabasa mo na yun.
Sir? Kita mo si Senator Go. Siya lang ang working hard talaga. Yan ang public official. Really. Especially the barangay captains and the kagawads. No, you have been elected there. You sought the position. Hindi naman tayo. Pinili natin to eh. Nobody ordered us for us to be to where we find ourselves now. at tapos tatamad-tamaran ka. That's not the way how to do it. One is you go to, if there's a case, a good case against you, you lose the position and you are dismissed. And maybe in the worst case scenario, you'll go to jail. Better be always be reminded of that duty. Pinili mo yan, huwag kang magtamad-tamaran kasi matatamaan ka. Ginusto mo yung position, magtrabaho ka. The aforesaid measures shall be subject to close monitoring and reassessment after the expiration of 7 days from the issuance of this resolution. You know, we will review. I have imposed upon the cabinet members and the entire members of this task force to be present every day. I know that it is hard for them. It is really an imposition. It's quite maybe a burden. But ganon rin ang sinabi ko sa kanila. Nandito tayo sa gobyerno. You choose to be a part of government. And there is a crisis with no solution in sight. Walang solution. Unless there is a vaccine by the grace of God na may makita o maimbento ng ating mga scientists. It could be the Philippines for all you know. But I'm just telling you what you're supposed to do. Ang isa is the LGU outside of the National Capital Region, yung labas ng Metro Manila, are advised to exercise sound discretion in suspending classes in the respective localities without prejudice to a determination by the national government to suspend classes if the situation so warrants. So, ang LGUs, may kunting leeway, and just a little elbow room para makagalaw kayo to respond to the crisis in the community. But it does not allow you to suspend classes on trivial and for, stupid reasons. It is only done because you have to protect them from the COVID-19. Yan lang talaga. Do not do it just to please everybody. Or sa bagay, I have full faith and confidence in our supervisors, teachers. I'm just saying that please do not do it the way others would want it to happen. Mas maganda yung walang klase, walang ganon. Huwag mong gawin yan because in the following statements, the Philippine National Police and the Armed Forces of the Philippines, in coordination with the Interagency Task Force, shall be called upon to ensure effective and orderly implementation of the above measures. Hindi ito martial law. It is not a martial law. It's not even something extraordinary. But what is sought to be solved here is again, walang iba except to fight the virus and to exact compliance. Mas mabuti talaga yung maniwala kayo. Now, ang sunod, a meeting shall be conducted daily by and between the secretaries of the number of agencies of the IATF, that is the Interagency Task Force, sa COVID, including the Cabinet Secretary, Secretaries of National Defense, Environment, and Natural Resources, Trade and Industry. social welfare and development, education, agriculture, the chiefs of staff of the armed forces of the Philippine Navy, Philippine Air Force, and Coast Guard, because in a total breakdown, I would need their help to carry on with the governance. Kailangan ko sila. Not to fight with you guys. Huwag kayong matakot sa sundalo ninyo. Sundalo ninyo yan. Ang armed forces is there to serve you. Sila yung sundalo ninyo. So huwag kayong matakot kung nandyan sila sa utos ng mga civilian authorities. Yung mag-utos sa amin, Department of Health Secretary lang naman eh. So, but when he says to the military and the police, you have to implement this. Obey them because they have the imprimatur of the civilian authorities. Huwag kayong do not try to play with martial law, martial military, and then. Pero ang sa totoo, ni total breakdown, public disturbance, alang-alang kami ang iharap mo. Wala naman kaming, it's always the military who keep things in the country in order. Sila yan. Titingnan nila na everything is in order every day of their working days. Tingnan nila na ang Pilipinas safe at gumagana ang lahat ng mga tao, pati mga opisina. The balik manggagawa overseas Filipino workers shall be allowed to travel to mainland China except to Hubei province upon execution of a declaration signifying their knowledge and understanding of the risk involved, provided that the health advisory pamphlet shall be handed out to the OFW upon departure. Hindi nga eh. Not only pamphlet, baka hindi mo basahin. You will be gathered in one corner or in one room, one corner, at sabihin sa inyo ang mga, I don't know if it's a Tagalog or Bisaya, mga risgo, the risks that you will be taking when you go back to China. But China, you know, President Xi Jinping, for all of his goodness to us, wrote me a letter and said that he is willing to help. All we have to do is to ask. Ako, ang tingin ko, maybe there will be a time if things deteriorate that I have to call on China to help. He has said that they have managed the crisis very well in this country, and he is very much willing to help kung kailangan. So, to the Chinese government, to the people, especially to President Xi Jinping, thank you for the consoling words, and maybe, I hope it would not reach to that point, but maybe we will need your help. Salamat po. The entry travel restriction shall be imposed upon those traveling from countries with localized COVID-19 transmission, except for Filipino citizens, including their foreign spouse and children, if any, holders of permanent resident visa. Remember, resident Filipino, walang problema. Holders of permanent resident visa and holders of diplomatic visas issued by the Philippine government. Yung travel dito ang gustong pumunta, hindi tatanggapin lalo na kung yung bayan nila has ordered a restriction sa travel. Mismo yung bayan nila hindi pumayag na mag-travel sila tapos pupunta sila dito, hindi rin natin sila tanggapin. But ang Pilipino, pati yung pamilya niya, because they are Filipinos and this is their country, they are very much welcome to come back. Lalo na sa panahong ito, if they want a more secure, comfortable place. Now, with regards to itong mga diplomat, hindi naman kailangan papasukin yan sila. Total, kung sabihin lang rin sa kanila, huwag kayong lumabas dyan sa embassy ninyo. Huwag kayo magpasyal-pasyal, dyan lang kayo. Kasi baka kayo pa magdala ng sakit ng ulo sa aking bayan. I don't mind Filipinos giving me a headache, but I certainly do not want anybody other than Filipinos to be giving me headaches. So yan ang yun ho ang maibigay ko sa inyo na payo. You might sometimes it's a convoluted thing to listen, pabalik-balik. Ang simple lang yan. The purpose to protect and defend you from what? From COVID-19. Then what is the purpose of government? The purpose of government is see to it that things are in order. To do that, if things deteriorate, I said, the military and the police will maintain order. Kaya nga tawag niyan, peace and order. There has to be a peace, and that peace, nakalagay na orderly. There must be order in the country, and that is all. The purpose is to, I said, guard your well. Sumunod lang kayo, lahat ng bayan ng buong mundo nauna pa sa atin. Tayo tinitignan lang kasi mabilis sa kanila. In Italy, it's 1,000 a day sila ang pasa ng contagion. Dito sa atin, medyo maliit pa. Pero numbers in a crisis can be, cruel. But overnight, makita mo, meron ng talagang mabilis na. So what we are trying to control is people with COVID, tapos yung ilayo natin yung healthy ones, sila yung i-target natin, not for anything but for their own good. They will be asked to maybe go to the hospital and seek treatment. Yung mga test ng test diyan sa para sa kung may infection ka o hindi. Libre yan. Libre, no? Libre, walang bayad. Kung wag naman kung healthy ka, no need. But if you are experiencing ubo, itong ano na ubo, tapos pag ubo mo, masakit yung likod mo, the lungs. Ang lungs mo ang titirahin dyan eh. And if it's too late, hindi na kaya ng antibiotics yan. It starts with a virus. The virus weakens your body. And it weakens your body, lahat na papasok, then it will kill you. Putang ina itong virus na ito, walang ginawa ganun. papasok sa katawan mo yan, just like AIDS, makes you weak, then it allows other germs to come into your body and you get sick. Usually pneumonia yan. And it's virulent, so seek treatment as soon as possible. But we are here to serve you, and every day we are meeting and in contact with the rest of the country. Meron tayong struktura. The structure really, people are asking, what is your preparation? Where's the structure? My God, yung structure natin is itong health. Meron yan silang regional all over. Then meron yung city health, provincial health. But yung national, yun yung mga regional health centers. They are already well equipped and nag-aral na yan kung ano ang gawin nila. There is the structure. So, sumunod lang tayo at